I want you to transport yourself back to the morning of June 30th, 1908. You are sitting on the front porch of a trading post in Vanavara, Siberia. It is a quiet, pristine morning in the remote wilderness. Suddenly, the sky splits open. Witnesses described a column of blue light, almost as bright as the sun, moving across the sky. Then, there was a flash. It was so intense that you could feel the heat on your skin through your shirt, 40 miles away. Then came the sound. It wasn't just a boom. It was a shockwave that felt like the earth itself was cracking. The blast wave knocked people off their feet 40 miles away. It shattered windows in towns hundreds of miles away. The seismic shock was detected by stations as far away as London and Washington, D.C. The atmospheric pressure wave traveled around the globe twice. For the next few nights, the sky over Europe and Asia was glowing so brightly with strange, noctilucent clouds that people could read newspapers outside at midnight without a lamp. But because this happened in one of the most remote places on Earth, nobody went to check. The Russian government had other problems: revolution and war. It wasn't until 1927, nearly 20 years later, that a scientific expedition led by Leonid Kulik finally reached the site. Kulik expected to find a massive crater. He expected to find a lake of molten rock where a giant iron meteorite had slammed into the Earth. But when he reached ground zero, he stopped in his tracks. He was confused. There was no crater. There was no giant hole. Instead, he found a scene of total devastation that defied logic. Over an area of 800 square miles, 80 million trees had been flattened. They were all lying parallel to each other, pointing away from the center of the blast. It looked like a giant hand had slapped the forest flat. But at the very center, the epicenter, the trees were still standing upright. Their branches were stripped off. Their bark was peeled away. They looked like telephone poles standing in a graveyard. This is known as the Telegraph Pole effect. It happens when an explosion occurs directly overhead. The downward pressure saves the trunks but strips the limbs. Kulik realized with horror that nothing had hit the ground. The explosion had happened in the air. Whatever it was, it had detonated with the force of 15 megatons of TNT, 1,000 times more powerful than the bomb that would later destroy Hiroshima. And it left absolutely no physical trace of itself behind. No meteorite fragments, no ship, nothing. Just 80 million dead trees. The mystery of Tunguska has driven scientists crazy for a century. If it was a meteor, where are the rocks? If it was a comet, where is the chemical residue? The leading theory today is the Airburst theory. Scientists believe a stony meteor, about 50 to 100 meters wide, entered the atmosphere at a shallow angle. The immense pressure and heat caused the rock to explode about 5 miles above the ground. The rock was vaporized into dust, which explains why there is no crater and no big fragments. The shockwave did the rest. But this explanation is too boring for some. Over the years, other, darker theories have emerged. In 1973, physicists proposed that a microscopic black hole passed through the Earth. It entered through Siberia and exited through the Atlantic Ocean. This would explain the lack of debris and the blue light, radiation. However, there was no exit wound found on the other side of the planet. Another theory suggests it was a chunk of antimatter. Antimatter annihilates on contact with normal matter, releasing pure energy. If a small rock of antimatter from deep space hit our atmosphere, it would create a massive explosion and leave zero residue. It would be the perfect clean bomb. And then there is the Tesla theory. The famous inventor Nikola Tesla was working on his death ray, Teleforce, and his wireless energy tower, Wardenclyffe, around this time. Some conspiracy theorists believe that on June 30th, 1908, Tesla fired a high-energy beam from New York, aiming for the Arctic to test the system. But he missed. He overshot the pole and hit Siberia instead. When he heard about the explosion, He allegedly dismantled his machine, terrified of the weapon he had created. While there is zero proof of this, the timeline matches eerily well. Whatever happened at Tunguska, it is a terrifying reminder of our vulnerability. If that explosion had happened just 4 hours later, due to the rotation of the Earth, the target wouldn't have been a forest in Siberia. The target would have been the city of St. Petersburg. It would have been completely wiped off the map. Hundreds of thousands of people would have been vaporized instantly. History would have changed forever. We call Tunguska a scientific curiosity, but we should call it a warning shot. The universe threw a rock at us, and it missed the city by a few degrees. Next time, we might not be so lucky. I am your host. Watch the sky. Subscribe.